Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons because I always do talk about Dungeons and Dragons. One of my favourite topics. We're going to talk about the problems with the Curse of Strahd. Are there problems in the Curse of Strahd? Well, yes and no. This is a Dungeon Master guide, so if you are playing in the Curse of Strahd as a character, please go and watch my video on the Player's Guide for Curse of Strahd. Don't watch this video because there will be spoilers sitting in here somewhere that will give away stuff that you probably should not know about. Here are some common Dungeon Master issues or problems, and my intention with this video is to cover quite a lot of material, which means the quick solution that I provide you with isn't going to work for everybody, and yes, that means you may need more information later on to be able to deal with those issues. So let's start with issue number 1, and that is the Curse of Strahd is too deadly and causes lots of character deaths. And yes, Curse of Strahd can do that. Here's my problem when people say this. This is not a failure by the Dungeon Master in running the Curse of Strahd. It is not a failure of the adventure. The problem is it's a failure of the player's understanding of the adventure. It doesn't always come because they've been playing lots of video games. It might simply be because they don't understand that they're not playing vanilla Dungeons and Dragons anymore. They're playing horror, they're playing the Curse of Strahd, which is actually quite a difficult adventure. In fact, it's very difficult as an adventure. And on top of that, if they are a beginner, they're not going to really understand there are other things they can do rather than just stay there and fight stuff. So my advice to you when dealing with the Curse of Strahd is too hard or too difficult or there's too many character deaths is tell your players it's a very hard adventure and they need to be careful, because if they do that, that will make a lot of difference. It makes all the difference, in fact. Okay, problem number 2. Strahd can't really be destroyed permanently. Yes, if you look in the back of the adventure, you will see a section that talks about what happens when the adventure is completed and Strahd has been destroyed, and then says about 3 months later, Strahd is resurrected and comes back. Now, why? This is because of the dark gods or the dark lords that look over and sort of look after Barovia and ensure that Strahd stays where he is. So why is this a problem? Okay, it's not really a good adventure for people to play if they don't understand what the goal is. Okay, the goal is not really to destroy Strahd. That might seem like the goal. The actual goal for this adventure is to escape Barovia, and the only way to do that is to destroy Strahd. That's the goal. That doesn't mean you need to permanently destroy Strahd. The other thing I would like to point out is don't tell your players that 3 months later after they have defeated Strahd that he comes back. Okay, just ignore that. Don't say anything about that. You don't have to mention it, and it will not be an issue. Or you can decide to change the final outcome for the adventure Curse of Strahd and have Strahd permanently destroyed if you really wanted to. So it's not a difficult issue to deal with, honestly. Okay, number 3. Escaping the Death House is very hard. Now, I can guarantee you that somebody will come across this issue and it's a legitimate issue because some of the mechanics that are written into the adventure are quite difficult for a low-level character to deal with. And yes, it is supposedly designed for a low-level character. But here's the thing I would like to point out. Players don't have to enter the Death House. You as a Dungeon Master don't have to force them into the house with the mist. The players don't have to complete everything in the Death House. They could go in and decide it is time to leave. The only thing stopping them is the Death House, and who controls the Death House? You do. The Dungeon Master can adjust all of the house responses on the fly based on the party's progress and the decisions that they make. Because the logical thing to do for any kind of player when they see this situation is probably never to go inside the Death House. I honestly don't see that as a problem. I know you might think, well, okay, now I've got to go and prepare something else, but they don't actually have to participate in the death house. You can also just eliminate the death house completely. Okay, number 4. The death house can't be destroyed permanently. It's indestructible. Now, this is done deliberately. It's done by design to stop your players using their characters to solve all of their problems with fire. If they can't deal with the problem, they burn it down. So part of that is to deal with that issue, and also to give the house a terrifying supernatural feel. Now, how do you make it have a supernatural feel? You try to bring it to life and make it indestructible, so that even if they burn the thing down and they walk past it a few days later, they see it's still there. Of course, what is it trying to do? What are the designers trying to actually impart to you? The message for the players is this. The message is from the death house. Don't return or mess with me if you escape. That is the message. Okay, that's quite scary. So even if the players never really have much to do with the house, and they were to just burn the thing down and never enter it, and it suddenly reappears, that there is terrifying in terms of any kind of aspect to your adventure. Okay, problem number 5. The Wizard of Wines has a magic gem seed with no location mentioned in the book. It's missing. There is 3 of them, and we know where 2 of them are, but the 3rd seed's location is unknown. But it's also likely known by Strahd. If you think about it, probably Strahd knows where everything is. How do you deal with this? The Dungeon Master is expected to fill in the gaps by design, or decide to exclude it because you don't actually need the 3rd seed to complete the adventure quest for that section. Okay, you can have just 2 seeds. Okay, that would be fine. You do not need to have all 3. It would be nice, but you don't have to have all 3. So an easy fix and really not a big problem. Number 6, the map of Castle Ravenloft is confusing. Yeah, it is confusing. It's isometric. It's very, very involved. There are multiple levels. As a dungeon master, you will need to take some time to study the map so you know how it works, simply because the stairs going up and down can get you lost. Players should feel confused when they try to navigate through the castle. The map could also be given to the players if you like. Now, you could do this if they find the castle model in the Amber Temple. There's a location in the Curse of Strahd called the Amber Temple, and if they go into the right location, they will find a full-fledged model of Castle Ravenloft, which they could, of course, just sketch down and draw a diagram of, and that would allow you to just give them the map, including all the secret doors and stuff like that, so you don't have to worry about all of that sort of stuff. Of course, that doesn't work if they go into Castle Ravenloft before going to the Amber Temple, and considering the Amber Temple is quite a dangerous location, you probably find you will still have to deal with some of the aspects of Castle Ravenloft, so a bit of study on your part is required. Okay, number 7. The player's characters can't fight everything. Why is that? Why can't they fight everything? Combat encounters range from easy right through to deadly, and I mean very, very deadly, where not just one character might die, but the entire party might get wiped out. I will say it now, you do not need to adjust things as a dungeon master. One of the things about the Curse of Strahd is the correct decision to make is often made before combat ever occurs. Players are going to be required to assess a situation and then decide if battle is the right decision. If battle is not the right decision, they should run away. That doesn't mean they can't come back later on and stomp all over that particular combat encounter, because they can. As they level up and power up, they should be able to do that. Newer players should be educated. I don't like the idea of new players playing in the Curse of Strahd. I think it's a very bad idea, but if you're going to do it, you need to educate them on fleeing combat. Now, if they decide to flee combat and you chase them down and kill their characters anyway, what have you taught them? You've taught them that fleeing combat does not work. Otherwise, you need to educate them about how to retreat correctly. That means not just running away, but falling back to a safe location. So that means you don't just run away and do no attacks. That means you need to decide when is the right time to actually flee. And I know a few Dungeon Masters are thinking, well, why am I having to explain this to the players? If you are dealing with new players, yes, you will have to explain it to them. Experienced players should already understand the concepts of fleeing and retreating from combat. If they haven't figured that out, they're probably not experienced players. Okay, so that's the combat section. Okay, problem number 8. The adventure is hard to play with a small group. And a small group in the Curse of Strahd is not a group of 1, 2, or 3 players. Frankly, anything less than 5 is a small group. So you can't really get away with just having 3 or 4 players and think you have a big enough group to deal with the Curse of Strahd, because as I said, it can take out an entire party, not just a couple of characters. So what do? You increase the party size to 5+ players. I would say on the heavy end of 6 is a better idea, but between 5 upward players is the best idea. If you can't do that, otherwise you're going to fall back on the other tactics that I've always talked about, and that is go with giving your players animal companions, a hireling or sellswords, or giving them multiple characters to run, because they need to have enough people or enough individuals in their party to deal with characters that go down, still have somebody fighting, and still allow somebody else to do some healing to get those who are down back up on their feet, also to deal with resurrecting characters when characters die, stuff like that. So that's problem number 8 in terms of small groups. And I've done a video on how to deal with small groups. It won't completely apply to the Curse of Strahd because the problems in the Curse of Strahd are a little bit more significant. Okay, problem number 9. Mordenkainen, the very high-level powerful wizard, is in this adventure and could easily overshadow the characters or make the adventure a lot easier if they enlist him as an ally. Okay, legitimate problem. We seem to think it's a legitimate problem, but here we go. All you need to do is remove Mordenkainen from the adventure. He is described or characterized as the Mad Mage in the adventure. You don't even have to have the characters meet him. Mordenkainen, or the Mad Mage, can still be in the adventure, but never actually comes in contact with your player's characters. The wizard has also lost his memory and has no spellbook. Therefore, he's not really a problem unless they can get him a new spellbook, and he has to actually, it can't be just anybody's spellbook. He has to write those spells into the spellbook. So he needs something he can copy. He'll require time to do that. Plus, they have to be able to figure out that they are dealing, the Mad Mage is in fact Mordenkainen, and that he's lost his memory. All those things actually don't make it that likely that they will have Mordenkainen as an ally in the adventure. Problem number 10. The adventure is a sandbox, which means players can go anywhere or nowhere. Okay, so here's the simple way to deal with that. Give the players a really strong beginning adventure hook. And I would suggest, because I've already done a video on adventure hooks for the Curse of Strahd, look at something like tracking down werewolves that are abducting children. It's a really strong hook. So it doesn't matter whether they are in Faerun, it doesn't matter if in the Forgotten Realms or some other world or your own homebrew world, and then they go to Barovia. The ultimate goal that they start with is hunting down the werewolves and rescuing the children. And so you don't have to worry about steering them around. They're going to be going and exploring and trying to find those werewolves. Allow the players to make mistakes and determine their own goals, because they will determine their own goals once they get exposed to Barovia and the Curse of Strahd. Once they get a bit of information behind them, they'll understand what's going on. You do not have to hold their hand and guide the players the whole time to try and escape Barovia. You may have to do that at some point, but you don't have to do it all the time. So yet again, not really a problem as far as I'm concerned. Okay, number 11. Players' characters at higher levels stop being scared, or it's reduced. The fear factor and the difficulty that they have to deal with that they had at low level diminishes as they grow in power. Yeah, well, we kind of figured that might happen. The characters should not always be on high alert throughout all the levels. As they level up, they should become better at doing things. Dungeon Masters, the issue here is Dungeon Masters need to accept that players' characters will eventually collect enough information, enough allies hopefully, enough magic items, and enough skills and power to confront their final battles with confidence and with success. They cannot always be on high alert. You do need to allow them to finally start succeeding, because they will fail at the very beginning of the adventure quite a lot. But they shouldn't consistently fail right through all the different levels. Okay, problem number 12. What is stopping Strahd from taking Irina straight away? As soon as the players come into the story, Strahd has already bitten Irina. Why does Strahd not just take her and turn her into a vampire straight away, and the players really can't do very much of anything? Here's my rationale, and there are actually multiple rationales, but I'm only going to give you about 3. Strahd's arrogance leads him to believe that Irina can't escape him anyway. He's very arrogant, he would believe this. Strahd's currently distracted by the player's character's party. This new party of individuals has come into Barovia, and that's his new plaything, so he's paying more attention to them than he is to Irina, because, as I said, Irina can't escape. He's just too good. Strahd wants Irina to willingly come to him, not to be forced. Although he's not going to give her many options, he's going to cut off all the options that she has till she finally resigns to the fact that she must go to him. This is the delusion that Strahd has come to. That doesn't mean that Irina will ever do that, but Strahd isn't smart enough, unfortunately, to figure that out. There are weaknesses to the character. He's a very smart individual, but one of the things is he always thinks he's better than everybody else, and that can be a problem for him. Okay, problem number 13. It's a very hard adventure to run as a dungeon master. Yep, that's right. It's a very hard adventure to run as a dungeon master. It's not a beginner dungeon master adventure. And I cannot stress this enough. I know it's a really good adventure. It's got a good review. People always say good things about it. Very rarely does somebody say Curse of Strahd is a bad adventure. But here's the problem. It is not designed for somebody who's just starting out as a dungeon master. Okay? Lost Mine of Phandelver, Dragon of Icespire Peak, yeah, kind of. They are designed for Dungeons & Dragons 5e by Wizards of the Coast for beginners. But the Curse of Strahd is not. The Curse of Strahd is an expansion of the advanced Dungeons & Dragons Ravenloft adventure. Now, I just said advanced Dungeons & Dragons, not basic Dungeons & Dragons, but we're going back quite some time, okay? You had advanced rules and you had basic rules. You had basic adventures and you had advanced adventures. And Ravenloft is one of the more difficult adventures to actually play through. Every aspect of this adventure presents a challenge, not just for players, but also every factor, every conceivable possibility that a dungeon master might have to work their way through. Every problem you can imagine will rear its head in the Curse of Strahd. It will test your mettle. That's just the nature of the adventure. So not really a beginner dungeon master adventure. Now, I know I haven't answered all these questions in a lot of detail. I've tried to give you a pretty quick overview of each one of them. So it's up to you, since you are the one who needs the help, or the individuals who are looking for more information on these topics, you need to highlight to me which ones you need more information on. That's what this video is all about. If you let me know, I will make a more detailed video on the aspect you need more information on. Now, if you like this video, great. I have a series of videos for the Curse of Strahd. You're welcome to go and check those out. I have hundreds of videos for players and dungeon masters on every aspect of Dungeons & Dragons 5e and Dungeons & Dragons in general. You're welcome to go and check those out as well. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing videos like this, well, guess what? You can do that by going to my Patreon page. I have a Patreon page where you get access to the written notes for all of my videos and the live streams, so you don't have to worry about doing all the other bits and pieces. I also have affiliate links to the book depository on Amazon. Where you buy stuff online, I get a small commission. I have a merchandise shelf underneath all of my videos. You can just watch my videos, that's fine too, not an issue. I love that when people watch my videos. Make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.